Welcome back to Mondays with Mom, the podcast where my mom, Leah,
Hi.
and I, Jo, dive into her stories, experiences, and the lessons she's hoping I finally take to heart. My mom has always joked that her life should be a book or a movie, and honestly, she might be right. I've spent my whole life hearing these stories, and I think they're too good to keep to ourselves, so we're sharing them with you, one episode at a time. Right, Mom?
Right, Joey. Thanks for that.
So, Mom, what are we talking about this week?
Well, Joe, my recent trip to Iceland is still very fresh in my mind.
I'm still very jealous that you got to go.
I know, I must admit, initially when George suggested that we go back to Iceland, we had gone on a cruise and had seen a little bit of Iceland, and he kept insisting that we go back again. And I was wondering, well, what else is there to see? And boy, was there a lot to see. We ended up snowmobiling on glaciers. We ended up going 120 meters towards the center of the earth to be inside the crater of a volcano. We saw the backs of waterfalls. We managed to stand between the North American and the European tectonic plates. I mean, I was really reading up. My geography and science improved dramatically on this trip. And for anyone who hasn't been there and is considering visiting Iceland, it is definitely a worthwhile trip. It's absolutely amazing. I can go on and on about it. But since this is Mondays with Mom and not Travel Weekly, I wanted to talk about something I saw in Iceland that sparked a memory. So George and I were with our really interesting tour guide that took us to the southern part of Iceland, and we saw these pitch black beaches. Now, when I say pitch black, what I mean is that the sand or the pebbles, there were two different beaches. The one was a black sand beach, completely volcanic sand, and the other one was pebbles that hadn't been broken down into sand yet. And absolutely phenomenal beaches. You cannot even describe what it looks like to see this expanse of black sand and the sea coming onto it. But the one particular beach, which I'm going to attempt to pronounce,
No, Mom, don't do it.
well, Joan, no one's going to know where I'm talking about, but I think it's pronounced something like Reynisfjara, with an emphasis, according to Google, on the Reynisfjara. And it is a beach that's famous for its beauty, and it also has these volcanic basalt columns that are incredible to see. But the other thing that we were told about this beach is that a lot of tourists that have gone there have lost their lives. And yes, they lose their lives by drowning, but it's not the way you would expect people to drown because you're not allowed to swim there. And this is for many reasons. Obviously, the first one, because the water is icy. The second one is that the North Atlantic currents there are extremely strong. But the one that made a huge impression on me was the fact that they said they have these waves that are called sneaker waves.
What are sneaker waves?
Well, I also had to educate myself. And what sneaker waves are is apparently the sea looks completely calm and you've got regular waves breaking onto the shore and people are standing on the beach and suddenly one of these waves appears. You're not expecting it. And it is a giant, powerful wave that literally comes out of nowhere, gets to where people are standing. The sand under them is washed away instantly because it is volcanic sand and not very stable. And this wave tends to knock people off their feet and then the currents pull them into the sea. And once you've been dragged into that water, your chances of survival are so slim. It's practically impossible to survive.
That's so scary.
Very, very scary. And I'd never heard of the word sneaker waves before, but it made me think of an experience I had in South Africa where I consider the waves facetiously not sneaker waves, but sneaky waves, or I was confronted with a sneaky wave. So it was in South Africa, it was in the 1980s, and I was where the sea is warmer, the Indian Ocean. I was in a province now known as KwaZulu-Natal, and I was at a trendy beach in Umhlanga. I did what I needed to do to be on the trendy beach. I had shaved all the necessary parts. I thought my hair looked really good. I had put on a really fancy bikini, And I thought, I'm going to go into the sea and walk with confidence. And anyone who's swam in the sea or the ocean in South Africa will know that you don't really swim.
No, you don't. You survive.
You survive. It's more that you go into the water to cool down and you get flung around by the waves. And it's great fun, except in this particular instance. So the sneaky wave that I'm talking about came upon me, and I had one of these really cute triangle bikinis on, one of these ones that's got the two strings that you tie around your neck and then the other two that you tie around your back. And I think the way I had been walking into the water and swaying my hips, I was probably getting a lot of attention. Either people thought I looked good or people thought I was borderline insane. But I knew that I was being watched. And when this wave came, I don't know how it did it, but it somehow managed to untie both of those bows, all of those strings simultaneously.
Oh my word.
Oh my word, indeed. But it gets worse because I don't know about the North Atlantic currents, but the Indian Ocean has its own tricks. So it didn't just undo my bikini top, it actually took it away. I could see the bikini going away from me and then it was gone. It was out of sight. So anyone knows, what do you do if someone's just taken your bikini top? Both hands go up and you cover yourself so that you're not exposed, which is exactly what I was doing, and hoping that I hadn't waggled my hips too much and people weren't watching. So there I was. It's the only time in my life I've been eternally grateful that I'm not well endowed.
But Mom, surely the waves had taken you deep enough into the water that no one could see you anywhere.
Okay, Jo, I think you've lived in Greece for too long. You've forgotten what it's like to be in the sea in South Africa. You're never very, very deep. If I had to go very, very deep, I wouldn't be here to tell the tale. You're still standing. My feet were on the ground, or at that point, they were on the ground. Definitely, when the wave took my bikini top, it did manage to knock me off my feet as well. But then I got back up onto my feet, and the water is approximately waist height at that point. And if I was going to go deeper, I would have lost a lot more than the bikini top.
You're very funny, Mom.
I swear, Jo, I sat there and I didn't even know what my next move should be. Do I stand there? Because I'm now still facing the ocean. I haven't turned round to the beach and I didn't even want to think about it. And the waves were coming and going, and I was thinking, God, please, can you not right here and now create some kind of a diversion? Let the ground open and swallow me, and I'll go down, no problem. I won't complain. Let my life end here. I don't think I could handle the embarrassment of the moment. And as you guys know, God always comes through for me. So while I was standing there contemplating, I see a wave coming. It hadn't come to me yet. It gave me enough time to try and plan my next move. But I see my bikini top riding the wave. And it felt to me like I'd been given a second chance in life. And I know when you're stressed out, it feels like things are happening in slow motion, but it was a split-second decision that I made to cover myself with my left hand, be very grateful that I'm not well endowed, and use my right hand, my more coordinated hand, to grab the bikini top. And I know some people out there are listening and thinking, oh, for crying out loud, what is wrong with this woman? I'm sure there were lots of topless people on the beach, but anyone that knows me and has been listening to the podcast will know that I came from a family of prudes. So for somebody else, being topless on the beach would be acceptable. For me, it felt like the end of my world.
As I often say, Mom, you're not dramatic at all.
Jo, I'm going to ignore that comment and I'm going to carry on with the story. So, as I see the bikini top coming towards me and it's getting closer, I notice that there's something else floating next to it. And it is a 20 Rand note. Now, I need to put this in perspective for people because normally, if I say 20 Rand now, at the moment, 20 Rand is €1, people would say, Leah, what was the big decision? But in those days, in the 80s, 20 Rand in South Africa could buy you many things. And in fact, I Googled it. I went back and checked just to see what would you be able to do with 20 Rand in those days. So in those days, 20 Rand could fill up the tank of a small or medium-sized car with petrol. It could take 6 friends to a movie, and it could buy people at least 4 or 5 wimpy burgers. In fact, I was pretty sure it could buy me a brand new bikini, not just the top and bottom, and probably a nicer one than the one I had. So there was really a lot to contemplate. It wasn't a decision that you can take lightly. I'm putting it out there. What would you guys have done?
That's a tough one.
Yes, Joan, thank you for acknowledging that. And I consider myself not a huge risk taker. And I'm convinced that if I had to be put on one of these TV shows where you choose the money or the box, I'm probably, when the money gets to a certain point, going to pick the money. And this was the money or the bikini. But you knew for sure what the bikini was. And with the money, it seemed like you had, in those days, for me, endless possibilities. So I literally threw caution to the winds.
Don't you mean the waves?
Yes, Jo, thank you for pointing that out. I threw caution to the waves, to the sneaky wave. And I did the full Monty. It wasn't quite a full Monty, but it felt like a full Monty to me. I let both arms go and decided I'm going to grab these together simultaneously. But as they were coming towards me, the swimming costume, the bikini top was on the left. It would have been grabbed with the left hand and the money with the right hand. And I'm probably not the most coordinated person out there. And I can't manage hand-eye coordination with both hands simultaneously. And I think I had my eye on the money. So my right hand grabbed the money, and I was really, really excited and thought I'm going to grab the bikini, and I missed the bikini.
Oh my word, oh no.
The bikini left, and it probably took me a second or two to understand what had happened and quickly cover myself again with my one hand. And then I saw the bikini floating into the distance again. And I thought, you know what? God is actually punishing me for being greedy. I had an option of actually maintaining my dignity, and I didn't. And I was mortified. I now thought, what am I going to do? Am I going to walk back and hold a 20 Rand note over my left boob and the hand of the right one? I thought, what am I actually going to do? I had an opportunity and I lost it. And this is how I know for sure that God loves me, because the probability and the chances of the bikini coming back a second time were so slim. And yet it did. I was still staring into the distance, thinking, what am I going to tell people? How am I actually going to face people ever again? I mean, I felt very rich at least, but how am I actually going to be able to show my face in public after I've shown every other body part in public? And this bikini came back again. And this time, I covered myself with a one hand and a 20 Rand note, my left hand, and I put my right hand out there again, and I was as focused as you could get. I managed to grab this bikini, but then to put it on. How do you put it on when you've got a 20 Rand note in your one hand and you're trying to tie? I'm not even going to go into it. You guys can just imagine the rest. But it's safe to say that I was traumatized. And this was not my only traumatic experience. I took it the next time to the next level.
How did you possibly top that one, Mom?
Well, I'm not going to use the word top here, Jo. I can't say that I topped it. I'm going to just say I took it to the next level.
Okay.
All right, so let me explain. I think I made my debut in South Africa, and then I thought, let me take this act internationally. So I took it to Greece on a holiday in Greece. And I've already mentioned that, and this is the reason why you thought I was standing in South Africa. I wasn't. But in Greece, where the sea is a lot calmer, you can actually go in quite deep and you can swim. In South Africa, generally, the one is, I would say, an ocean in South Africa. And in Greece, you're dealing with the Mediterranean Sea. So the sea is substantially calmer and you actually get to swim. You don't just get knocked around by waves. So we were on holiday in northern Greece, close to Thessalonica, and we were touring with my aunt, uncle, and older cousins. And we came across this very beautiful but rugged beach. That wasn't an organized beach, but it seemed like an ideal opportunity to swim. The waters looked absolutely beautiful, and there was a rock face on the one side. So while you were in the sea, you could look and see this beautiful rock, and we all made a spur of the moment decision to go down and swim in these waters. And none of us were wearing swimming costumes, or my sister and I were not wearing swimming costumes, at least. And we decided to change on the beach. There was nowhere to change. And we were helping each other out. We were holding up towels for each other and doing the trick of slipping this out and slipping this on. And we managed to get dressed, or so I thought, and took a walk towards the sea. It was a hot day. We were really keen to get in, and these waters looked clear and beautiful. I went ahead, and I don't even remember if I was waggling my hips this time, but I went ahead first, and my sister followed behind me. And suddenly she said, "Leah, get in." And I said, "Okay, we're getting in." She said, No, you've got to get in right now." And I said, "Why?" And she said, "Let me explain. Just get in the water." So I followed her instructions, went in, and she said to me, "Listen, you've actually put your bikini bottom on the wrong way around. It's inside out." And you all know that with bikini bottoms, and even with guys' boxer costumes, they have that white part on the inside, that white netting or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So I had mine on the outside. And she said to me, "Listen, you need to maintain some dignity. So what you're going to do is swim out far. And when you think that you're far enough from everybody, because these waters were really crystal clear, go further than everybody else, take the costume off, swap it around, and when you come out, no one will know."
Okay, that sounds like a good plan.
Well, I thought so too. So I followed instructions, and I went out and swam and saw where the last person was, and I went deeper than that. And it felt like a good plan to me. I felt secure. The waters were completely calm, and I looked around, couldn't see anything. And since I was substantially deeper than everyone else, I thought this would be a good moment to actually get myself in order. So I take off my bikini bottoms, and I'm taking my time. I know that I've got time to do this properly and slowly and carefully. And I take them off, and I have them in my hand, and I'm treading water and check that I've got them the right way around now. And then I see it. There's a snorkel. It's above the water, and it's approximately 2 meters away from me, and it's circling. It felt like Jaws, the shark, when you hear doo-doo-doo-doo.
I've heard this story before, Mom, and I think if I were you, I would have been kicking and screaming in the direction of the snorkel.
Well, I don't know about kicking and screaming, Jo. I think like the more you kick, I don't know, maybe you're exposing more body parts. My main aim was to actually get this swimming costume back on. And I was trying to do it in a dignified way and make sure I got it on the right way. But it's also possible that because I had adrenaline, that time felt like it was standing still. But I do remember feeling that sense of panic. And you know that when you panic, things don't go your way. So while I was panicking, I was trying to put the costume on. 2 legs were going in the same hole because I was treading water at the same time. I would take it off, and in and amongst this panic, which was my internal panic, suddenly there was external panic. People were screaming and getting out the water, and I was trying to hear what they were saying because I was further out than anybody else, and the wind was blowing the wrong direction. And needless to say, everyone seemed to be getting out the water except for me and the snorkel guy. Because snorkel guy was under the water, so he couldn't hear any of the screams and see the panic. I could, and I made out the word Medusa. Now, subsequently, I've learned what that means, but at the time, I did a direct translation into English, which was Medusa, some mythical creature with snakes coming out of her head. And I thought, oh my word, there's some mythical creature in this beautiful sea? And I could vaguely remember something about everyone that looked at her was turned into stone. And I was thinking, is that why there's this beautiful rock face across from us? I didn't know what to think. My brain was not fully functional at the time. And I thought I have to calm myself and get my bikini bottom on properly. Because if I'm going to be turned to stone, it's not going to be a naked statue of me.
Perish the thought.
Exactly. If I'm going to be a statue, I'm going to be like one of those goddesses that's wearing the one shoulder robe. And if nothing else, that motivated me to calm down, get this bikini bottom on. And I thought, well, whoever it is has seen it, but I'm not going to put it out there publicly in the form of a statue. And people on the beach were beckoning. My family was screaming, get out of the water. And the last two people in the water were me and Snorkel Dude. And I'm not the strongest swimmer, so it did take me some time. And I made my way to the shore with my dignity intact or partially intact. And my uncle came running up to me. And I thought he was just so happy that I was safe and hadn't been turned to stone. And right next to me, that's when I realized what the word Medusa or Medusa meant. Next to me was this giant jellyfish. And because these waters were so clear, people had realized that there was this sudden, I don't want to call it infestation, or what do you call it when jellyfish just approach an area, but there were now hundreds of them. And if you've ever seen, now I know, at the time I didn't, thank goodness I didn't, because the situation would have been much worse. I would have been out there naked. But I've seen what it looks like when you get stung by a jellyfish. It's not pleasant at all. It's really, really awful. And I've watched movies where people don't know what to do when you first get out the water and they say you must wee on it to get ammonia. And I didn't want anybody weeing on me. I had enough problems in my life.
Apparently that's a myth though, that doesn't actually help with stings.
I think it is a myth, but if you remember, there's that movie with Adam Sandler and Jennifer Aniston, and I just remember a very traumatic scene where someone is peeing on someone because of a jellyfish. But thankfully, as I was getting out the water, with my dignity only partially damaged by Snorkel Dude, my uncle, who had noticed a jellyfish right next to me because the waters were that clear, ran into the water, grabbed this thing by its head, somehow managed to avoid getting stung, and ran along the beach with it till he got to the rocks and slammed it against the rocks. I mean, my hero.
Wow.
He became my favorite uncle thereafter. And I think for a couple of years after that, I had switched from bikinis to full costumes. I thought it's safer, it's more dignified, and it stays on.
So, Mom, I think now is a good time to talk about the lessons that we've learned from these stories.
Okay, I know we've learned many lessons, but I would say the most important is don't be greedy. God may not be forgiving every single time. Secondly, I would put it out there that it's probably worth wearing a full costume when you're going to go into an ocean where the waves are crazy.
Also, I think another one is that it's important to keep calm under pressure.
Yes, Joe, I agree. Don't panic. Dignity is definitely overrated.
Agreed. Now, what are we grateful for?
Okay, Joe, I have to be grateful that I got money and a bikini back. I mean, I think that is unheard of. Secondly, I would say I'm really grateful for my awesome uncle, Theotaso. And finally, and most importantly, I'm so grateful that there are no naked stone statues of me out there.
Thank goodness. And on that note, thank you everyone for listening.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode.
Make sure to subscribe to us on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube if you haven't already.
We really appreciate your support.
Absolutely. And we'll see you guys next week. Bye.